So, starting yesterday, and I mean, things happen sometimes, as far as health. So, I could talk about the fibromyalgia kind of thing after the child was shot and killed at the middle school where I had taught. And yeah, it took um, quite a while for my body to not be in that pain. And I'm going to go close the back door because there's starting to be biting insects out there. Garth just came in. But yeah, I was standing outside, kind of wondering, what can I do for my health? What can I do to keep my health okay? Because I ain't fucking giving up my life. And really, it's that bad. And I can't quite make sense of the lack of values, I really can't, um I mean, I could default to saying low class. I mean, is that what some of it is? I really don't know, um, but you know, it could be, yeah. So it could be. Well, that is not a judgment. What is that? I mean, that may be calling out when something needs to be adjusted a little bit, perhaps. But what I wanted to talk about is, being real empathic physically. And yesterday, just, feeling something on my body that reminded me of my client that takes extended release Adderall. And, there was the night that I was in the bathroom, and it's strangely in the bathroom sometimes I feel drugs. So there was the night I was in the bathroom and I felt this shift, and I was like, I feel drugs. And do I know how to describe that? Not really, but I'm sure there are people out there who understand. All right, so you know, I ain't the only person like me, And I mean, each person, I mean, I'm not saying, I'm not saying I'm giving up my life. I'm saying there are people out there like me. I ain't the only one. So, and I was in the bathroom, felt this shift. I feel drugs, sat down at the computer, and a client had written, and she had asked for a reading earlier that day, and it had felt real bad to me. It had felt invasive to me and not good, and I was pretty upset. And I don't know how to describe what it was like. It's almost like she's using me. It's like she's using me to try to see what I see. And I don't. And she actually, early on, something had come up about mediumship, where I had communicated to her that, you know, mediumship was coming up strong for her as something that she might, develop. And well, a few years later, she wrote to me and she said she had started doing mediumship readings and she had forgotten about the reading that I had done. And then she saw it, and so she wrote to me and she started asking for readings sometimes. So that morning, she had asked for a reading. It felt real bad to me, and it's like, is she doing something on purpose? I mean, there's something that just feels real off, and it aggravated me. Then she asked for another reading, and I mean, I was charging $2 a reading. I really wouldn't want to charge much more than that. Okay, so it's not for the money, all right? It's to help people. Okay, so and I really think even if I charged too much, then I wouldn't even be able to do it. Well, now I'm to the point where physically I can't. And partly because I'm real empathic physically, and I don't know all the reasons. I just know I had to stop. So, and drugs. That's part of it. People using drugs, and my body picking up on their drugs, and yeah, it has an impact. Some of us are like that. Are we fairies? I mean, is that maybe what it is? We're fairies. We're nature spirits being pummeled by synthetic chemicals that are being used to deaden the soul, deaden the spirit. Yeah. All right. Um, so I felt drugs, sat down at the computer she had written. The second time she had asked for a reading, I felt compassion. When that evening, when I was in the bathroom, or that night, felt drugs, sat down, she'd written, I said, are you using a drug or alcohol? And she said she had just taken an allergy medication. And I said, well, if it has pseudoephedrine in it, that might be what I'm picking up on. And she looked, and it didn't. And I don't know if there was anything in it that might have been a little bit like that. But then she told me she takes extended release Adderall, and she might have been drinking. I mean, people don't always want, and yeah, so perhaps, but extended release Adderall and allergy medication. It was at least those two things together, and I could feel it, and it felt bad, and there were times when I woke up, and what I'm experiencing today and yesterday reminds me of that. So there were mornings I woke up when the shop was open. I think, was that when the shop was? I actually closed the shop because of her. Because when I reopened the shop in early January, there she was again asking for reading, and I couldn't physically. I can't do it, and I can't. And she ran out of her prescribed drug, and I was like, what a good thing. But nope, she went and got it again. So I mean, there was her. There's another client where there were drugs, and it's like, well, this is just, I have to stop, and there might be several reasons that I need to stop, but I have to stop for my own health, all right, for my own physical health. So yeah, are some of us fairies? We are harmed by these things. Psychiatric drugs, addictive drugs, god damn. I mean, really. Okay, so I felt it, sat down, asked her, and yes, Adderall. Well, there were I can think of at least one morning where I woke up dizzy on my left side, and she had written, and it's been feeling like that today, yesterday, but I also experienced what feels like pre-stroke. Well, what is it exactly? I have taken pretty good care of my health. I knew at age 41 that I didn't need to drink, because I'm such a lightweight. I can't even drink kombucha. You know, uh, Pills for me? No. I mean, I would be dead. I mean, to me, that's dead. I mean, when I was forced on pills and there was an addictive pill, I stopped taking it as soon as I could because it made me feel dead. But, here's what I want to talk about. When I was a young adult, my dad said, one day you will be a healer. Well, I think about a few years ago, a man who came through the back door in the shop. I don't think he ever paid, and that is fine. I think I'm glad he didn't, but um, I could, I was picking up on an opioid. Spirit was communicating that. I could say it that way too. I kind of don't like saying that sometimes, because then sometimes people use that. Well, Spirit said you should do this. Spirit said you should do that. And it's not someone who actually does the work. And it's like, I mean, I don't have patience for that really. But yeah, I asked him about that, and yes, he had taken some of his wife's prescription, and then I had a dream sometime after that where it was almost like I was levitating and I didn't feel real good, and I wondered if it helped him detox. So I think about I was standing outside, and it's like I fucking refuse to give up my life over 7.5 years living like this. Pain in my head that started during the flood in the mountains from Hurricane Helene. The possible, what I call it, possible pre-stroke symptoms. Well, if a stroke is neurological and fibro and these things, well, a person can survive that. I mean, haven't I been harmed enough already? What does it goddamn take? So yeah, Dad's saying one day you'll be a healer. Well, I think again, did I help him detox? Did I help that man detox? I hope so. I hope so. Another man comes to mind. I mean, there's plenty. I don't feel real comfortable talking a whole lot about validations and stuff, but I got many, and there are things, there's a whole lot of sacred things as far, but 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 yeah, so I was standing outside. How am I gonna stay alive? And if I'm a healer, then what kind of healer am I? Well, what about someone who sets limits so that someone taking a drug starts to understand they need to stop? I'm not talking about someone, I mean, alcohol, that's pretty normal. I mean, people drink, and well, I mean, my ex liked alcohol more than he liked me, but that's pretty normal for a lot of people. Some people even say it's healthy. All right, so I'm not talking about that. Pot, I'm not going to talk about that. I mean, I don't love that flat dead smell sometimes, and I don't know if that's medical. There's stuff that really gets on my nerves. All right, but, just the immaturity of, well, how much is economic? And yeah, people just trying to feel good enough, so, but if I am a healer, if my dad was right, well, if he said one day you're going to be a healer someday, well, am I yet? And if I'm not, what do I need to do to protect my body? Yeah, so scars, I don't think I also want this side of my face paralyzed. I fucking don't particularly want to die young, and 57 is pretty young. I think about people who do everything and they keep on and yeah, I mean, do I think bad things should happen to them? No, of course not. I mean, no, and plenty of them are really amazing artists, musicians, all that. But when I think about the client on Adderall and how bad it felt when she asked for that reading, and it's like, what is she trying to do? And she told me she has a lot in her chart in Scorpio. Well, I mean, do I need to be? Is there such a thing as a scorpionic healer? A scorpionic healer. What would that be? If you've been harmed by a Scorpio real badly, then I mean, I don't know. I mean, but a scorpionic healer, I really don't. Harm is not a good thing, even when someone is doing something that is harmful, and it might be to that person, but it's also harmful to someone like me. Okay, so yeah, if I'm a healer, if I'm a healer, well, first of all, I need to maintain my own health. I don't need this pre-stroke shit going on or anything else. I need to be able to eat pretty normally and not worry about it. Well, part of the problem there is like it sucks. I mean, the lack of human companionship. Eating is social, so yeah, I mean, I also could talk about what's going on in food too, and people being exploited so badly. But yeah, if I'm a healer, well, here's what I'm gonna say. If I'm a healer, and there are persons out there where their mess is encroaching on my body, then those persons need to start getting real strong messages. And I don't know what form that might take. That is just something to protect my body from the harm. Again, I'm not the only person like me. Some of us are real sensitive. Some of this experiences that we have, people actually use drugs to try to do those things. And yeah, that's not a good idea. I mean, personally, I don't think so. I mean, I'm not judging. Some of those drugs, when people are doing that shit, also hurt us. We might pick up on it, see it, have a dream, have a bad dream, know that someone has bad intentions, and that they're going to go through their whole life or most of their life doing harm. All right, so if I'm a healer, well, if I'm a healer, how about this? I am protecting myself with scorpions and anything else that I need to protect myself, to protect my body from the harm. All right, so what is that for someone that needs healing? Maybe they need an awareness that they need to stop doing whatever they're doing that is causing harm to. It could be to their own body. It could be to other people. It could, if it's to their body, maybe it's something that's going to end their life too soon. And by too soon, what do I mean? A person is always loved and missed. Yeah, and everyone fucking matters. So, yeah, well, am I setting an intention? I'm talking about, what my dad said to me, when I was a young adult. And yeah, I've been through a lot of hell. And I don't know that I can ever say I'm a healer, but if I am, well, I hope people start to feel it.